Dinofours, it's fire drill day. Mrs. D and the children had just finished singing their good morning song on the rug. Today is a special day, Mrs. D said. Why? Asked Tara. We are going to have a fire drill, replied Mrs. D. Does anyone know what that is? Tracy raised her hand. Mrs. D called on her. I know what it is, Mrs. D, said Tracy. My big sister told me about the fire drill at her school. There isn't a real fire. The fire drill is just for practice. Everyone has to be quiet. All the children line up and go outside. Then everyone goes back inside. That's right, said Mrs. D. It's important to have fire drills to make sure children know how to leave the school in a safe way, in case there ever is a real fire. Suddenly, Brandon stood up. Look at me, he exclaimed. I'm a firefighter and I drive a big red fire truck. Brandon made the sound of a fire truck as he raced around the classroom. Roar, roar. Please sit down, Brandon, said Mrs. D. We are not finished. Brandon plopped down between Joshua and Albert. Albert raised his hand. Mrs. D called on him. How will we know when the fire drill starts? Asked Albert. The fire bell will ring, said Mrs. D. It will be very loud so everyone can hear it. When will it ring? Asked Albert, who now had a worried look on his face. Later, during our activity time, said Mrs. D. I will let everyone know just before it rings. I don't like loud noises, thought Albert. Circle time was over. As Albert was trying to decide where he wanted to play, he kept thinking about the fire bell. Albert took his favorite doll and softly sang a song about how he felt. I do not like the fire bell. It's loud and hurts my ears. I do not like the noise it makes. I hope it disappears. Joshua asked Albert to play with him in the blocks area. Together, they made a tall building by crisscrossing the blocks. Albert wasn't having much fun. He was still thinking about the fire bell. I can be louder than that silly bell, Albert said to himself. Albert pushed over the block building. It fell down with a crash. What are you doing? Shouted Joshua. It's fun to make loud noises, said Albert, isn't it? No, it's not, Joshua stomped off. You knocked the blocks down. You put them back. Albert sadly put the blocks away by himself. Then he walked over to the shelf that held the musical instruments. He thought about the fire bell as he took down 2 cymbals. Albert marched around the classroom, clanging his cymbals. The children looked up to see what was going on. Too loud, they shouted. Be quiet, Albert. Mrs. D helped Albert put away the cymbals and find a different activity. He picked the water table. Albert poured a bucket of water into the water wheel. As he thought about the fire bell, he poured faster and faster. The water splashed Tara. Albert shouted, Splish, splashy. Splishy, splashy, loud, loud, loud. Stop it, Albert, cried Tara. You are getting me all wet. Mrs. D walked over to Albert and put her hand on his shoulder. Albert, what's going on? Asked Mrs. D. I've never seen you act like this. I'm afraid of the fire bell, said Albert in a low voice. I don't like loud noises. He was almost crying. I want to tell you something, Albert, said Mrs. D. I don't like loud noises either, but I do like the loud sound the fire bell makes. Why? Asked Albert. Because it's a sound that helps keep children safe. And that's my favorite kind of sound. Albert smiled. Mrs. D looked up at the clock. Albert, it's time for the fire drill, she said. I'm ready, said Albert. Then Mrs. D turned to face all the children. Children, said Mrs. D in a strong voice, I need your attention. It's time for our fire drill. Everyone stopped what he or she was doing. Albert took a deep breath. At that moment, the fire bell rang throughout the school. It made a loud clanging sound. That wasn't so bad, thought Albert. Quickly and quietly, the children lined up in front of the door. Mrs. D led them outside. As the class walked down the road, Mrs. D counted the children to make sure they were all there. They waited outside until Mrs. D told them to go back inside the school. They walked to their classroom and sat down together on the rug. That was a great fire drill, children, said Mrs. D. Everybody left the school in a very safe way. Just then, Albert got up and went over to the dress-up area. He put on a red firefighter's hat and sang a new song. I like the fire bell, I know I almost will. It tells us when to go outside for our fire drill. The end. I hope you enjoyed the book. Bye.